In this video, we're going to be talking about how we set up this n8n workflow. This workflow will take empty property images, like these ones here, and using AI, it will stage the pictures, put some furniture in there, maybe some paintings on the wall, a couple of rugs, a lamp. It's going to stage the pictures, and then it's going to bring those images to life into 5-second video clips. And what we'll be left with is 2 5-second clips. The workflow will merge those clips together to make one continuous. You could use more images than this. I'm just using 2 just to cut down the time that this will take. Each image takes a little bit of time to process. So we're just going to cut that down, used a couple of images. I've picked this one. I thought it was quite an interesting angle. I've used AI to create both of these images. It's quite an interesting angle, so I'd like to see how the model performs, how it stages this. I think this will be quite straightforward for it to do. Of course, when you're using these AI models, you'll know if you've been using them before. Sometimes you do get some strange results, but I've found the prompts and stuff that I've got within the workflow have been pretty robust. I've run this quite a few times now. Of course, that is customizable, and I'll show you how to do that. We'll take these images, turn it into a clip, have a look at an example clip we've got here, and then this will be the end result. This is the workflow. Before we get to this point, you're going to need to have set up an n8n account. That's this platform that we're using here. And then throughout this tutorial, there's a few things you're going to need. You're going to need a ChatGPT credential. So it's like an API key for OpenAI's API. You're also going to need a Google API credential. You're going to need a Cloudinary account. Don't worry, I've got either tutorials or explain how to do this as we go through. So we're also going to be talking about how then we connect that credential. We'll also need a File AI credential. This workflow is calling on external tools, things like File AI. There's a couple of requests here that we're going to go into. One to create the video and then one to combine the videos. And we'll talk a little bit about customization. n8n is very flexible, so there's a lot of different things that we can do inside the platform. Let's get into it. And what I'll do, I'll just get this set up and running, and then we'll get some data. Now, if you've downloaded the template, to get to this point where all of the nodes are on the screen, just click on the 3 buttons here, click import from file, and then select that template. What should happen, hopefully, is all of these nodes then will populate on your screen. It will look a little bit different. You're going to have some red crosses over everything. That's to be expected. Don't worry about that. What that is, we're calling on some of these external tools, and those tools, the reason we're setting up those credentials is because you need to pay for those. If the template came and it had all of my credentials and API, then you'd be using my tokens and I'd be paying for your production. What we need to do, get that set up. So yeah, so that's you're paying for basically, so you're paying for it, not me. Let's get this workflow up and running. What I need to do is, you'll see here on form submission, if we click execute step, we'll get this box come up. And the property name, just so you know if this was for a listing that you were making for them. Put in the thing, call it. Let's go see that. When you've got items like this, when the square boxes in these images, these are binary. Cell there with the little tab there. We've got a couple of binary images. That's the format essentially. If you're testing with this, one little trick you can do so you don't have to keep going through that step. If you click on this node and then push P, it turns purple. It's pinned that data within the node. You don't have to keep redoing that step. And then you can do that throughout the workflow. Sometimes you run into a little bit of difficulty when there's so much data, especially when you're working with binary images. If you've uploaded lots of images into there to process, sometimes you need to execute the whole workflow in one go. Anyway, we'll click execute workflow, and we're getting started. As this is performing the task, what happens if we look at this node, just picking anyone random, you wouldn't see any data in these until it's gone for a run. Once we click on one of the ones that's gone green, we can see what's happening. That's going to help just in the explanation. Run you through exactly what's happening. Once we get these, you can see that we've got one item here. Both images are one item because you couldn't upload multiple. And what is happening here is a code node. Don't worry, you don't need to learn how to code. This is either in the template or you can just copy this. across. Essentially all this is doing is splitting this out into 2 items, because what we want to have happen is those 2 items will run through this loop individually. It's going to loop over, and this is the first place where we're going to need a credential set up. This node here is calling on Google image to image model. This is edit an image node, and then this is the first place, and I'll link a video to explain how you can set up your Google Gemini if you haven't already. If you're already using APIs and stuff, you'll have those credentials, but you just come in here and then click create new credential. The prompt we've got in here, this is one area that you could customize it. We're using the provided image, change only the empty floor areas by adding appropriate modern UK style staging furniture, naturally matches the room's existing colour scheme, decor, and architectural style. What we don't want is to change the structure of the room, change the wall colours or anything. I found this prompt to be pretty robust, but if there was a particular style that you wanted, you could change the styling options. You can make it like very modern decor or really 60s, 50s, whatever you like. This is an area that you can customize that. And we can see now that one of this is processed. We've got this image here, and this is the edited image on the output side of the workflow. You set up your Google credential, follow the, what I'll do, I'll link that down here. I'll create that video for you. The next step, what we need to do, you mentioned about the binary files. Now, you can't pass those to every model. Immediately, like some HTTP requests require that you have a URL and not the binary image. What we're doing here is we're just going to upload the image created here. Once it's been edited, we're going to upload that to a service called Cloudinary. It's a bit like Google Drive or Dropbox, but made for automation and developers. And what we're doing here is just doing a request to upload that image to Cloudinary servers, and in return they give us a URL. We can have a look at what's happening here. And I've got another tutorial here, so create Cloudinary. If you just follow that tutorial, it'll explain how to set up the account and how to set up this HTTP request. What we're saying is we're going to upload to Cloudinary. In the template, you're going to have a section in here that says for you to put your information instead of uploading into the storage that I'm using. You're doing that into your own. All you need to do on here is update this URL with your own credential, and then upload this value as well. Put your own credential in there, your own value in this. That will upload, and then sits and waits here. And then once we've got both the items, it will come over to this next loop. In this, we're going to process each of the images that run through here will then run through. The first thing that's happening here is we're analysing the image. You'll notice that if you've downloaded the template, that this is another one of the nodes that's got the little red X, and that's because this requires an API to ChatGPT. Click on OpenAI and then click create new credential, and then from OpenAI's website you can create an API key. There's video on that. I'll just go through it in more depth. Let's open this up. We can see a bit more what's happening here. The resource will be set as image, and then analyze the image. We're using ChatGPT 4.0 latest. What we're asking it to do is to analyze the stage room image and then write a short 5-second real estate animation prompt. The video will be extremely short. It's only 5 seconds long, so the movement must be subtle and physically realistic. And then you can read through this, and you could play around with this prompt as well, test a few different things. Essentially, what we're doing here is writing a prompt that is going to tell the next request. So we're going to take that image and turn it into a video, and we need to prompt what we need to happen in that. This is going to have a look, and this is the output. We got begin with a gentle dolly in from the hallway towards the centre of the living room, maintaining focus on the seating arrangement, large bay window, as the camera glides forward. It's going to look at the image and then create that prompt that will be suitable for each of the images, then to pass on to the next HTTP request. In here, we're going to be using a model called Cling through a service called File AI, are an AI model aggregator. If you take a look on their website, you can get access to lots of different video models, all sorts of different like text to image, edit image, video creation models, all sorts of different stuff. And to save you having a subscription with each of the different platforms, then you can just top up File AI with some credits and then you get access to all of them. The API documentation is very good as well, so I like using File AI regularly. I use that in my workflows. You're going to need to set up a credential. You can watch this video that will explain how to set that up and how to get your API key in more depth. What's happening here, we're posting a request, and you can see with the URL, we're posting to the Cling model v2.1. We need to set up our authorization. We're going to click generic credential type, header auth, and then use File AI credential. And if you haven't done this, is where you're going to set that up. You're going to click create a new credential, put in your API key, follow along with what it says in the video. So this will be populated in the templates, so you don't have to worry about this, but you can find it if you're interested in learning how to do this. You can find all of this API documentation on File AI's website. These green sections here are dynamic values. If we're ever working with these dynamic values, like this prompt here, if we can see we've got begin with a gentle dolly in from that's the prompt that the previous nodes created. If we have a look here on the input side, begin with the gentle dolly in, we can just drag and drop that across into here. So these green dynamic values then will change on each run. And then we've also got the image URL. This is the body for our request. Then we say on the output, once you post a request to File AI, they give you this output section, so your response, status and cancel URL and the request ID. And we're going to use that next. These models, the AI takes a little bit of time to create that video. It's not instantaneous. So we need to get the status. So what we're doing in this section here is we're polling for the result. Now this is completed, so the status has changed to completed here, but you'll get different things here. It might be in a queue, processing. This dynamic value is the URL then for the status. We've got create video, and then the status URL. That's posting a GET request to get the status, and then we need to set up, just put in our authorization again, so generic credential, header and File AI. Once that status, depending on what it is, so it's in queue or in progress, completed, or there's an error, it will just hit fallback and stop. We've got in this switch here, each of these dynamic values is all the same. It's the status one here dragged across, and then the different variations of the status, and then this switch will route that. If it's if it's in the queue, processing, it's going to wait. It's got a simple wait node. It's just going to wait for 60 seconds, and then it's going to come back round, try again, still processing. It will wait again, and it will go around in that loop, so on. Once it's completed, you can see the green path here. We're then going to do our next HTTP request, another GET request, and this time we're posting it to the response URL. This is that dynamic value from this response URL, and that will return us with this URL. You can copy and paste that into a browser and you can have a look at the clip there. And what we see, depending on how many images you've uploaded, this will just go round and round and then wait for each video and then come back to the loop. Then it's going to, what we need to do is these items, like we split them out before, now this code node, what it's doing is just combining them back together. So we see 2 items coming in, and then we've got 1 item coming out. And this is all in the template, and you can just copy this if you're building along step by step. We're just combining the URLs. Here we see 2 items, now we've got 1. And of course we don't want 2 separate clips. We want to combine all of the images, all of the videos all into 1 clip. We do that with a service called FFmpeg. another HTTP request. This time we see that the URL's changed, so we're posting a request. It's to file AI again, but FFmpeg. We need to put our file credentials in here. Just select that from the drop down once you've set it up, and then we're going to send JSON body. A little bit different to the other one. And again, this is in the API docs. This is what we're sending over. This is the dynamic value passed from before. Much like we did here, then we just need to poll for the status. Once the status is complete, same as before then, so we've got the status, the different variations of what that could be, plus a fallback in case of errors. Sometimes like File AI can have problems on like their servers or something, like it's very rare, but sometimes things happen. But before it, we'll wait if it's in a queue or in progress, come back around, get the status. Once it's completed, let's see it has been on here with this green leg, we're going to get that final video. Same as before, get request, and then all this is the start of the URL, and then this section here is that request ID. And then this URL here, which is the merged video, you can copy and paste that, and that's your final video output. These are the two that you pass to it. That's the bulk of the work done. Now, moving forward from this section here, there's a lot of different options that, in ways that you could retrieve it. If you use Slack, for example, you could have the workflow then send you that URL over in Slack. If you wanted to use like Gmail, you could set up a Gmail node, set up a credential, you can have it email you the link. You could, I use Notion with a lot of my workflows, could have that, pop that over onto Notion for me. What we've done here is like a built-in to n8n, we've got data tables, much like Google Sheets. Google Sheets would be another option, you could use that. I've got a couple of videos on my YouTube channel about how to set up Google Sheets and how to set up a credential if you wanted to do that. With these data tables then, we'll just quickly look at that. If you click home, and then in your home you'll see that you've got like workflows. One of those is credentials. One of those is data tables. We click on there, we can click create a new data table, and then we'll just add columns in, and I'll put in the property name and then the final video URL. You could get it to include those other URLs if you wanted, but what from here. Back on it, what's happening inside this? We're going to insert a row, resource will be row, insert, and then staged video, final videos is the name that I've called that data table. Just select to map each column manually, and then we can get the property name. And that property name comes from right back in the beginning of the workflow, from the on-form submission. If we open that up, we can see the property name there, New Street. And again, you just drag and drop that across, and we can see that's routing from on-form submission, property name. And we can see that's New Street there. The final video URL was this latest one that we have. Scroll to the top. That's that URL dragged and dropped across there. If you were going to set up your own, if you were going to customize this, send it via Gmail, you just need to drag that across. Of course, you could do some multiple things. You could have it update that data table, make a record of it, and then head over, click on Gmail, send a message. What I'll do, I'll include a bit more on Gmail in the next video. And what I'm going to do, so once you've got this clip, obviously it's a silent walkthrough, the next video is going to be one where you can take that URL that we've just looked at and then put a voiceover. So you could take whatever property description you're using in whatever portal you're using online, and you write in the description for your listing. You could take that description, take this video URL, and then have AI create a voiceover. Create the script, create a voiceover, and then combine both the audio, edit the video so the audio is then over the video. And then the reason they're separated is that some people, and I've seen it online, are doing video walkthroughs with their phone and then playing music over the top. So you could use either one independently or together, and that's another video is how you'll be able to combine the two as well. That's coming up. If you've got any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Happy to help. If you do need to troubleshoot any of these things, it's anything when you're doing your build and when you're making these different customizations. One thing I always recommend, for example, if you wanted to change the prompt, copy and paste the prompt into ChatGPT, explain to it what you're doing, and then if you explain to it what it is that you want to happen differently, then it can create new prompts for you. And then if you're having problems with any of the HTTP requests, just check your credentials. That's quite often a problem. And like I say, you can use any of the videos I'll link in here. It goes a little bit more in depth into actually how to do that. They're only short videos. Yeah, ChatGPT is a great resource if you do get stuck, and if you can't get any help there, please feel free to reach out to me. Let's just take a look at that final response. Thanks for taking the time to watch the video. Hope you have a great rest of your day.